Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at a Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey, the Tamdhu, 15-year-old, 46% ABV. So let's get this bad boy poured so we can open up a bit in the glass. It's getting down to the bottom of the bottle, so hopefully it's opened up enough to where I get all the best out of it. You can see I only have about this much left. This was a bottle from my good friend Keith of the Malted Man cave, so go and check out his channel to also get his thoughts on this particular one. Tamdhu, first time I've ever brought you guys one of these. Actually, this is my first bottle of Tamdhu. Never have tried it before. A lot of times used in blends, but they also do a small core range of age statement whiskeys, just to kind of get their name out there, I would imagine. But again, it's a Speyside whiskey, actually located on the River Spey, I believe. Again, 46% ABV, sherry matured only, and natural color. So checking off a lot of boxes as far as a good ABV, natural color, unchill filtered. And I'm pretty excited to see what I think about it. I had a few drams of it, of course, before I brought it to you guys, but this is getting a lot of pub lately, so let's get into it and see what I think. All right, so again, natural color. So just to check it out there, I would say this is maybe gold +1, roughly. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult to pick up on the camera. Basically, probably the color would say a Glenfarclas 17, which I recently had. Not as high of an ABV as this Tamdhu, being the Glenfarclas 17. That's a 43%, where this is a 46%. But still a good rich color and natural color, all imparted from those lovely sherry casks. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's like on the nose. A lot going on here. Obviously, the first thing that I get is raisins, followed quickly by a nice orange zestiness. But raisins like the first thing that comes up to me. There is like a plum note to it as well. And then some spices. I would say Christmas spice reminds me of that holiday time of year. Pineapple. A nice barley note to it as well. It kind of reminds me, in a lot of ways, of say like a Glenfiddich 15. I know Glenfiddich 15 is like a more common. It's not as good as Glenfiddich, or Glenfiddich 15 is not as good as this, but it kind of reminds me of it, like a better, more amped up version of a Glenfiddich 15. Now that whiskey's of course at 40%, where this one's at 46. So again, the more rich version of it, just kind of give you an idea of the profile. But just very full and very rich, especially, just at that 46% ABV. It almost noses a little bit richer than that 46%. Now, that's not to say that, it's an aggressive smell, because it's not. It's very delicate. It's very regal as far as the smell. It kind of comes in soft, but it's very rich once you get into it. Maybe a little bit of cinnamon. All right, first sip time. Far more aggressive on the palate than it was the nose. The nose was rich and it was refined, but it was fairly subdued. Like there were a lot of things going on the nose, but it didn't jump out at you. Far more aggressive on the palate than it is on the nose. But getting similar flavors. First thing I'm getting that nice raisin note. There's almost like a cedar note to it, almost like wood chips. I remember, being in a middle school or high school, like one time we in wood shop we had to make like a jewelry box, and inside we kind of lined it with pieces of cedar, and it has like that cedar chip element to the taste. And I know it's more of a smell, but it kind of smells how cedar chips, or kind of tastes like how cedar chips smell. There's also a nice ridge of vanilla coming in. Actually, the vanilla is pretty rich right now on the palate, just like a gingered vanilla, as well as maybe, I would say a little bit of plum. That leathery raisin note comes in almost to the point where it is almost like armchair leather. It's really, really nice, spicy, a lot going on. It's kind of developing and changing. And here, like on the linger at the very end, I'm getting like a nice dried apricot, which, as far as orange zest or an orange or a citrus smell or taste, apricot's one of my favorites. And that linger is just a little bit of apricot right there. Really, 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 really nice. All right, add a couple drops of water. Let's pour it on a glass here real quick, see if I pick up anything new. Okay, originally when I said orange zest, it's more apricot now with water, just like it was on the palate. Cinnamon's more prevalent. That vanilla, which is very, very rich on the palate, is there on the nose now. Almost like maybe like gingerbread house with icing on it. There's the pineapples. Almost like pineapples on the grill. I was grilling out this weekend. It's late April here in the States, 2020. Do a little cookout this weekend, some hamburgers and whatnot. Didn't have any pineapple on the grill, but almost like a grilled pineapple. Still, those Christmas spices are right there. Earlier I said it kind of reminded me of a Glenfiddich 15, and it does in some ways, but this is just far richer. Just exactly what a good, 15-year-old sherry matured whiskey should be. It's enough ABV, it's enough heft. It's not trying to be a sherry bomb, it's not that. It's almost like the old Glendronach 15-year-olds. Like there's sherry in it, you know that, but there's so much going on as far as the complexity. I know why Keith raved about this so much. This is a really, really well done sherry experience. That cedar's still there. And with water, like that vanilla richness is really coming out. All right, last sip time. The initial arrival on the palate is just like the nose. It's elegant. It's aristocratic. But then as soon as you swallow, man, there's a punch to it. There's more of a punch than you assume there would be. Again, on the nose, initially when you take it on the palate, it's rich. Like you get those sherry notes, but at the same time, it's elegant and it's silky. But then as soon as you swallow, man, you get a punch. You feel that 46% ABV. It really just kind of just jumps off the palate once it's swallowed. Again, I'm still getting the cinnamon, still getting the dried fruits, apricots, maybe a light apple that's maybe been left out too long. Just excellent stuff, especially for a 15-year-old whiskey. Tamdhu, yeah, I never had one before. Keith from Malted Man turned me on to this. He gave it to me with a good amount left, so I've been drinking it down, trying to get my tasting notes down for you. But every time I go back to this, I'm pretty impressed. There's so many layers to it, and there's so much going on. It's just really a very well done, what I will say, a medium sherry experience. It's not a sherry bomb, say like the Balvenie 15-year-old single barrel, or say like Glendronach 18. But if you think more Glendronach 15 with a little bit more heft to it, or if you think, again, I go back to a Glenfiddich just amped up on steroids, like if you imagine like a Glenfiddich 15, almost like cask strength, it almost gives you that on the palate, but on the nose, it's just so refined, so silky, so aristocratic. It's just an excellent whiskey. Now, as far as a price point, these bottles, I've seen them online as far as like online retailers are willing to ship here to Ohio. They're all asking, low 100s, 120, 130 bucks. I'm not exactly sure what Keith paid for this or if it was gifted to him by a fan or something like that. But, you're going to pay, at least here in the States, if you get your hands on it, well over $100. Now, is this worth, say, twice what a Glenfiddich, would be, or a Glenlivet, say, 15-year-old? And I got to tell you, it is. If you're a fan of that style of whiskey where you like the sherry matured whiskeys, no peat whatsoever, but want more than what the traditional big brands are offering, but don't want a sherry monster, this really fills a void, in my opinion, that the single malt Scotch whiskey industry doesn't cater to enough. And that is a well-aged, and again, I consider 15 years old the beginning of a well-aged whiskey. A well-aged, sherry-matured whiskey that's a good ABV, that's rich, that's spicy, that gives you a lot of complexity, that doesn't weaken it too much with watering it down to say 43 or 40% ABV, and it doesn't give you a sherry bomb, which is sometimes can get a little bit too many tannins and some things like that into it. This is a very nice version of that medium ground, which previously the GlenDronach 15 always had for me. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I would say as far as a whiskey score, this is a really, really good whiskey. I grade pretty hard these days just because I've tasted so many whiskeys, but I'm going to give this an extremely strong 90 out of 100 as far as what I think as far as a whiskey score. Now, 2 or 3 years ago, I may have called this a 91, maybe even a 92, but this is an excellent whiskey. If you guys can get your hands on it, I definitely recommend you try it. Thank you, Keith, for saving a decent amount of this bottle for me so I could experience it. And guys and ladies, if you have a chance to try this Tamdhu 15-year-old, couldn't recommend it more highly. Aside from that, I want to once again thank you for watching and join you for another one of Mike's whiskey reviews. Until next time, I wish you happy drinking. See you next time.